Welcome to the Filmcast review of Monkey Man. I will read the plot summary of this movie from the internet. An anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless, end quote. This is the directorial debut of Dev Patel. And Devindra Hardwar, I think you have been a Dev fan for quite a while.
I feel like I willed this movie into existence, yes. Like, literally.
Devindra manifested
I think we've all been
this.
Dev Patel fans, just to be fair. But yes, I love.
Yeah, I watched a couple others, and I threw some love out there for The Green Knight, and I feel like that was not always fully supported.
Yeah, it's so
in the
interesting.
wider
It's so
public,
interesting that like some people on the podcast didn't love
a gorgeous
Dev Patel's
starring role
The
for
Green
Dev
Knight.
Patel. No love.
I liked him in it.
So interesting. 1/3 of this podcast did not shower The Green Knight with the adoration that it deserved.
He didn't direct that movie.
Anyway, so Devindra Hardwar, let's just start with you. What were your overall thoughts on Monkey Man?
I freaking love this movie. I do feel like in a certain sense, like I have willed this into existence, like a wonderful starring role for Dev Patel, but also something that lets him be artistic and like lets him be in the director's chair, but also deliver like all of his own cinematic influences. To me, this movie feels like the sort of iconic image of Hanuman, the Hindu gods, like of him tearing his heart open, and you have other gods inside, but it's him revealing his heart. And I feel like at some point Dev Patel sat down and just like tore his own heart open and got his own feelings about action cinema, about his feelings about the state of India, everything out there. I think it's a very open film for that. I think it's just a very revealing film, but it also like feels like something from a first time director. So I think it's a little shaggy. I think the action is kind of messy at times. It kind of ramps up to being a great action movie, but it doesn't always start there. He does a lot of the first time director stuff about being just way too in love with shallow focus, where I'm like, buddy, just let me see the entire image, please. Like, it feels like he was really influenced by Danny Boyle, having made Slumdog Millionaire with him. Like the sort of like those scenes of streets, them running around with handheld shaky cam along the streets of India. It almost feels like that's replicated in this movie a little bit. But yeah, there's so much love here. There's love for Hong Kong action movies. There's love for like the newer action movies like The Raid. There's just so much going on. It's a beautiful film, but it's also like, it's ultimately a very straightforward film. It's trying to say something about the rise of extremist Hindu nationalism in India as well, but also not quite saying that. It's kind of a weird thing. We could talk about some of that in spoilers, but it is grappling with big ideas. I don't think it fully like gets to a point where it's a truly great movie, but I had a lot of fun watching it. I think the action scenes like get more and more interesting. It does some cool, fun stuff, even though it's like it's not just a John Wick ripoff. They even directly say John Wick in the movie. So this is a movie. The universe of this movie is a place where John Wick exists as a movie. That's kind of fun. Yeah, ultimately, like I think it's a fun revenge film that has some beautiful moments and is clearly made with a lot of heart. And I gotta respect that. And I hope this means, more for Dev Patel as a director, as an artist, certainly as an action star, because he's not beefy in this movie, but he's definitely like toned and lean and like looks like an action star. And I feel like the only time I really got to see that was in that movie I talked about that I don't know if anybody ended up seeing, but it's The Wedding Guest, where he plays like almost like a hitman fixer type of dude. He doesn't get to be like muscly in that one either, but his presence as an action star I think was really cemented there. So yeah, love this movie. Definitely shows some like first time director issues though.
I want to shout out a piece that Siddhant Adlaka wrote for Time Magazine called
So many great pieces, yeah.
Monkey Man's Political Critique Misses the Point, where he kind of dives into the politics of this movie and why he finds them to be a bit muddled. So definitely worth checking that out. That said, Jeff Kanata, your thoughts on Monkey Man?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on Monkey Man are best summed up in the form of a limerick. This movie is a bit of a riddle. It's dripping with blood, sweat, and spittle. But after the chase, it loses its pace. It needs some more monkey in the middle.
Wow. Yes. Both a bold critique and a great limerick, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I agree
agree
almost down the line with everything that Devindra said. I do think it shows some scruffy first-time director stuff that I wish was a little bit more honed. But it's hard not to like it for all of that scruffiness also. I don't know. I mean, I think ultimately I liked this movie. I had good time with this movie. For the first third of it, I thought I was in love. I was like, this is awesome. And then, man, it comes grinding to a halt. And it's unfortunate because so much of how it's built up at the beginning is this incredible momentum. There's this like driving pace at the beginning that feels inevitable, and you feel like you've just strapped onto something really exhilarating. And then the movie just completely derails and just grinds to a halt and becomes much more introspective. And I think never quite got me back. Even though the action at the end is pretty fun, I felt like it got into these kind of preposterous areas, and it also expands its scope in a way that felt really forced and really didn't help the experience any. It's like it's this revenge thing and this revenge thing and this revenge thing. And it's like, wait, no, maybe it's also about all this other stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but we're kind of losing sight of the revenge thing a little bit. And you know, there's some like Devindra pointed out, there's some first time director stuff that just feels a little bit like, man, that's on the nose. That's you didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
and I'll go into specifics and spoilers as to what I mean. But for example, there's a needle drop that's there's a few of them, but one of them is like Roxanne by the Police, you know, while we're looking at a prostitute, and it just feels like
literally what is going through his mind right now.
It's like, I mean, it's so on the nose that it just like jarred me out of the moment rather than accentuating the moment. And there's a few things like that of, you know, I'll talk about it in spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like there's stuff that the movie sets up beautifully and can be, as the viewer can intuit and feel, and then the movie's like, no, we need to show you exactly, even though you already got this, we're gonna drive it, hit you over the head with it. And I was like, you didn't need to do that. You could have been a more elegant movie without having done that. And I also think it kind of, you know, shortcuts some stuff at the end. It's like, I punched a punching bag for 3 minutes and now I'm a superhero. It's like, really? Okay. So there's a lot to like. I think the action photography is really fun. There's a lot of really cool moments. It's brutal. It is brutal as all hell. I mean, it is a gory, bloody, visceral movie. And there's a lot of fun with that. But overall, I think it is a flawed but fun, very much worth seeing. Just kind of could have been a better. It's, you know, better than mid-range, but not a home run.
I think I'm the most positive person on this film out of the three of us, which is really amazing. That almost never happens. I love this movie. Yes, there are some.
I know why you love it, Dave, because it's so in love with the shallow depth of field. Like, really, you're like, oh, I can't see anything. It's so really blurry. So blurry.
They're like minutes at a time when there's no mid or wide shots.
Yes.
I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means, but I feel like this is a movie that emerged fully formed, in my opinion. You guys may not agree, right? But it feels like, oh, this is a fully formed movie. This is not somebody who is, I'm still in the middle of learning how to make movies, and like this is kind of what I'm capable of right now. This is like, oh wow, this is somebody who has really specific ideas about blocking, about depth of field, about the use of music, about the use of lighting, about the use of color, about the use of action. And it all converges wonderfully in this movie. I thought this movie was a blast. It was thrilling from beginning to end. The first two-thirds of this movie were like really gritty and realistic, in my opinion. And then it kind of loses that by the end of the movie. And that I'm a little bit bummed by, because I did appreciate that tone and that feel from the beginning of the movie.
I agree.
And the latter half of the movie becomes like increasingly more outlandish.
It's a superhero movie by the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's, you kind of lose what made the first half of the movie a little bit special. But otherwise, I had a great time with this. Dev Patel is amazing. I had heard so little about this. Like, it was actually quite a feat to avoid
Mhm.
any information about this film.
Mhm.
Because I opened TikTok and it's like Dev Patel's there in an advertisement for Monkey Man. So I got to swipe away. I'm always
Did you
like,
see any of the trailers ahead
didn't
of
see
this?
any,
Okay.
didn't see any trailers, didn't see
Yeah.
anything. So
I was so though some of the best trailers we've gotten in recent memory because they're edited so well. Like
Yeah.
the tone of it makes it seem like something you got to watch. So
right,
it was at least marketed well.
So I didn't see any of the trailers, and when I was watching it, I was like, did Dev Patel really direct this? Because he's in
Yeah.
virtually every shot in the movie, and
Yeah.
that's just really difficult. Like the specificity of what he wanted done with the framing. I assume he had tons of input into it. I assume he didn't just say to his DP like, "Hey, handle this." Like,
Yeah.
I assume he had, and it's like it's really specific and for the most part extremely effective. And so I came away from this with massive respect for Dev Patel, not only as an actor to be willing to like reshape his body in the way that he did, but as a director. I think this is just a really, really solid directorial debut.
It's definitely like striking as a striking film. And his DP, by the way, is the guy who did Silent Night, the John Woo movie, and Whiplash, but not really like major movies since then. Huh.
Yeah. So who's the director of photography?
Sharon Meyer.
Yeah.
Or Meyer.
Sharon Meyer, yeah. Anyway, I love this movie and I'd strongly recommend it.
Yeah,
it
definitely
was
see
just
it.
it was just a blast. It was a blast to watch. So big fan. Those are my overall thoughts on Monkey Man. Why don't we get to some spoilers for
Sure.
the movie starting right now? Let's talk about some of the stuff that happens in this movie, especially towards the end of the movie.
I would say mainly towards the middle, which is what
Mhm.
you brought up, Jeff. I think this movie has a saggy middle problem, where it's trying to do really interesting things, right? They basically, when he's defeated, it's kind of cool. We have a whole setup, we have a whole battle. He's defeated, he's on the run, he chases. He basically makes friends with the trans community and like is taken care of by them and learns that more, the problems of these rich people and the religious, extremists go far beyond just his own revenge story. I think that's fascinating. But I don't know. It feels like they couldn't quite keep the tempo of what they wanted. You can do that. You can. It's amazing.
Yeah,
that
the
movie like
movie
this,
is
can
taking
do it.
a break. It's taking a
Yes.
pacing break, and the whole idea. It's the idea that he's taken in by a trans community, and obviously, I think my understanding of what the movie's trying to achieve
Mhm.
is that it's very like anti right wing, and
Yes.
so like
Yes.
it's very kind of a bold statement that those are the people who like help him to heal and who give him his powers to come back. The thing that uh, is where I agree with you guys more about this whole segment of the movie is like this is a concept, this
Yes.
idea of
Yes.
badass who like is incapacitated or decides to like be among the people before like returning to the field. It is so done over and over again.
Yeah,
It
it's
has
a
been
trope.
it's a
Mhm.
trope. It's a trope. It's literally MacGruber in the movie MacGruber. Like he's like living in this village and like these are my people now, and it's like because it's been done so often that it can be parodied. And that was decades ago. That was a long time ago when that happened. So it's like
MacGruber is riffing on movies that are like 20 or 30 years old by that point too. So
right, exactly. So it's like this is a very well-worn trope of and it makes no sense at all, by the way, that like he's shot by a sniper from a plane he falls into this water
from a helicopter.
and then it's like he wakes up, what happened there?
No
like it
idea.
doesn't make any sense.
Goddamn idea.
This is a lot.
I don't care about that.
This movie has a lot of that, where it's like also he's running like after the cops invade, and he's running. He's like, "Oh, axe fight!" Like now we're having an axe fight. There's a lot of like great ideas that are not connected. Good fight.
When that
but
axe
doesn't
connects
mean
with the innocent bystander,
incredible.
Jeez.
Good
And
stuff.
all of the axe just barely missing the head. You've seen an axe barely miss a person's head in a fight many times in movies. Never like this.
Not like this.
Where it felt like that seemed dangerous to shoot.
Well, while we're shouting out kills, we got to shout out possibly one of the most inventive kills I've seen in a movie.
Knife to the throat.
In recent memory, knife to the throat
with teeth.
Which is Dev Patel has got this guy pinned to the wall of the elevator with a knife to his throat. And then he like gets the knife in like a little like an inch.
His hands are busy,
and then his hands get like seized, and then so Dev Patel seizes the knife with his teeth
This
and
is
then
exactly
shove-
how I put the groceries away sometimes.
This,
you
is,
know?
this is how it
You
goes.
just-
Listen,
you use what you've got available. You know what
he
I mean?
shoves it into the guy's throat with his teeth, and it's like, okay, that is very creative.
rips it with his teeth. We went through a whole Roadhouse remake. No throat ripping.
Yeah.
Dev Patel comes out with one movie. I'm gonna rip a throat out with my teeth.
I have to say,
A knife
I
with my
found the
teeth.
fighting in this movie to be way more effective than Roadhouse, and they almost like are
yes.
similar styles, like similar wide angle, often first person shots. There's several first person shots in the movie as well.
I would agree with that. Although I really did like the thing that Devindra shouted out during the Roadhouse thing was that technique of how the fists connected with flesh. That is a really inventive, cool thing that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, and I don't think they do that.
No,
nothing.
They
definitely
like that.
don't.
And kudos to Roadhouse for that because that is an amazing.
I mean, it's good. Like Dave, it's good. I think the fight scenes are good. The choreography is good. It takes a while for the cinematography to really catch up to what they're doing. So it's almost like the Paul Greengrass Bourne style
It's
stuff.
true.
It's like shaky stam, like impressionistic
It's clearly
action.
very inspired by Bourne Supremacy or Bourne Ultimatum, even where like he's running on the roof. The music sounds like the Bourne Ultimatum music. Like it's clearly heavily inspired by that, and also the John Wick movies, obviously too.
So the action, I think, like some of the shootouts, some of the there's actually not much gunplay actually because he gets one gun, he messes that up, and then it's all hand to hand since then. So the action is good and it's funny, but it also feels like, I saw the Raid 2. You know, I've seen so many of these things too. It's like, I get it. I get what you're liking here, or I get what he's going for. The knife with his mouth. That is new. That is interesting. Okay, you're actually innovating now on this design, and that stuff I think is pretty cool. So we saw enough of new stuff that made me really impressed.
Yeah, I thought the action was overall really well done and fun, and there's a moment at the end where he walks up in the full monkey mask. And I was like, oh my God, is the whole rest of this movie going to be him in a monkey mask kicking the shit out of people? And I wish it had been. I really wish it had. That would have been incredible. If you imagine all of the end of the last act of this movie, all that action, but in a monkey mask, that would have been so rad.
We get to see his beautiful face, though. His beautiful face, which takes a pummeling.
Yeah,
and never leaves a mark. He is like beaten to a pulp at one point.
Yeah, and then he shows up at work the next day,
it's fine,
pristine.
totally fine.
I was like,
but
hit me again, hit me again. I'm like, never shows a mark, really?
Yeah, you'll have a bit of swelling.
The other thing, kudos to Dev Patel. He is a very attractive man. No one's going to argue with that. He is in great shape. He directed the hell out of this movie. He does a lot of his own stuff in it. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but also like never shows himself, particularly injured or in bad shape. And then also puts a scene in the movie where he takes his shirt off and literal ladies scream at it. I'm like, you're directing this movie.
It's great. Create the reality you want to live. You know,
you acknowledge it. I guess you acknowledge what everybody's thinking, but also, I would never have the balls to be like, I'm going to have ladies scream now when I take my shirt off.
You learned it from The Rock.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah. I didn't mind the needle drop. So
that's a bad needle drop.
The Roxanne needle drop is bad. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But,
there's another one I wanted to remember, but I'm having a hard time recalling what it was. But there was another one where I was like, no, not
there
that.
There was a Jefferson Airplane Somebody to Love. I thought the Jefferson Airplane Somebody to Love with the bathroom fight was actually really good.
That's fun.
Sure. And it honestly felt like the opposite of the Mission Impossible Fallout bathroom fight sequence, where like that it takes place in a completely white, sterile space with like these huge mirrors, and this is like grimy. There's a aquarium there. It's like red lights. He's reaching into the toilet to get the gun. Like all this stuff.
Another Danny Boyle reference, I guess.
Yeah. But I thought that fight scene was great.
It's sort of like if you took that Mission Impossible one, but also the opening of Casino Royale, right? Where it's like black and white, really gritty, messy bathroom fight.
Yeah.
It felt more like that, but extended.
But I have to say, guys, he made the classic blunder, which is he felt like he really had to get the one-liner off before he shot the guy in the head. And that's just
don't do that. Just shoot the guy in the head.
Just take the gun out and shoot the guy in the head. You don't need to do the one-liner. Say it after. That's amazing.
You waited your whole life for this.
You've waited your whole life for but basically the movie wouldn't have happened if he had decided to not say the one-liner, right?
That's
like if
he
just
had
like
perfect plan.
Although
I have one question. I mean, I have many questions.
Yes.
One of my questions is
yes.
What happened to the dog?
Yeah,
dog.
no dog follow up.
No dog.
No dog
No
follow.
dog
Th-
follow
this
up.
movie-
The woman
yeah.
literally says, "Don't feed it because it's going to come back here begging for." And then he does, and he gets the. I mean, it's cool. He gets the dog to bring the gun, but like now the dog's fucked.
Dog's fucked. Listen, Alfonso is fucked. His
Yeah.
entire life is ruined. He never
Yeah.
goes back and says, "Sorry, buddy." I
Why
don't
did
know.
Alfonso get in the car?
Yeah, that was
Why
weird.
did he
That
get
was
in the
dumb.
car?
That's a dumb
was
move.
so
You're seeing
dumb.
the dude chased by everyone. Don't get in the car.
Okay, or at least
You
like
go. You turn to those guys and go, "He's stealing my car. I have no association with this man."
yes.
I don't know this man. Sorry to this man.
Exactly. That is a worse blunder than saying the catchphrase first. That is like
I do love I love the build up to the first major assassination sequence, like the dog stuff,
so
him
good.
figuring out how to get there, like that stuff I
So
think is
good.
really cool and fun
Yeah.
and intriguing. The whole like exchange, like before the exchange of the wallet, when they steal the wallet and it's kids running through
Awesome.
it and moving
Yeah.
the wallet. Again, Danny Boyle. That is
Yeah.
a very Danny Boyle like chase sequence through the alleys. Yeah.
I
But
will
like
say,
also,
this-
why do all
this-
those people want to help him? I don't know, but
Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah,
They're
it's like, is every single one of those people his friends, or
They're all friends.
Did he pay every single one of those people?
He doesn't have money. He can't pay them.
I will say this movie indexes very high on street urchins. You know, like there's
Yeah.
Mhm.
there's a bunch of street urchins in the movie, and they all are doing their thing. They're doing things that like kids that young probably shouldn't be doing. And
Yeah.
it's a good if you love a good street urchin in a movie, this is a good
Yeah.
movie for that.
A
So,
good street urchin showing the like horrible inequality that exists in a society that often has very rich people. Yes.
yes,
That is why they're there.
absolutely.
That is why they're there.
And there's all these like interesting background shots of there's a scene where they're driving past in the little
Mhm.
vehicle and
people are
you
sleeping
see
on the
people
street.
sleeping on mats and
Yeah,
you
on the
kind of
street.
see people selling things on the street and
Lots
all
of
this
little
stuff,
kid stuff. I think there's always a little kid witnessing a thing because
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
was a little kid who witnessed the thing.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't need to see his mom murdered.
Mm.
I
It's
didn't-
pretty brutal.
It's
yeah.
brutal and it's unnecessary. It's gratuitous and it's him saying, "This is for my mom."
Mhm.
I got all the information I needed. I get it.
Mhm,
I know
mhm.
it. I know. I'm with you, dude. I'm on your team. You don't need to show me that moment. It's just felt
Mhm.
completely over the top, and it was just hitting me on the head with the hammer. And I,
There were moments where the movie he needed to pull back a little, like maybe
Yeah.
tighten up this thing. I feel that's certainly one of them because this movie is so brutal in other respects too, where it feels like he just wanted to get it all out there. We should talk about the religious stuff because I think that is kind of interesting. It's sort of like if this movie was like rallying against Christian extremists, right? But then at the same time saying, I am powered by the power, I'm super Jesus now. Like I
Right.
have the power of Jesus within me
Yeah.
to fight these Christian extremists. And it's kind of, especially in a country like India now, which is being besieged by Hindu nationalists and by a prime minister who's like really riling these people up. They're going against like their right now, like that party is doing many things against minorities, certainly against Muslims in India as well. So it feels weird that he is a character who is driven by so many Hindu stories, and especially by the story of Hanuman. So the final line of the movie is like, it was something about his God, like his God drove him here, or something like that. And it is a very like overtly, you're being driven by images of God to commit this violence, while at the same time including shots of actual street riots and violence by police in the movie. It's weird. It's just like a weird thing. It's like balancing a knife's edge here, and I don't think the movie quite handles that stuff.
I
agree.
think what you're alluding to too is there are limits to how thematically interesting
Yeah.
a movie like this can be, or how thematically nuanced
Yes.
a
Right.
movie
'Cause
like this can be, because ultimately
what-
it's an action revenge thriller, right?
You're making this pulpy action movie.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate the desire to infuse that with some meaning and some
Yeah.
cultural relevance, but
Mhm.
you're absolutely, I think you're spot on, Dave. There's a limit to it. And
Yeah.
at a certain point, it just feels discordant.
Yeah, there's just some things you can't really accomplish
Yeah.
Yeah.
with it, and I do think its reach exceeds its grasp on that front.
Yeah.
a
That's
little
why I
bit,
feel like
so.
it's all these emotions pouring out of his heart. It's just like,
Yeah.
I feel really pissed off about all the shit that's
Mhm.
happening, and I also want to reclaim maybe some of this Hindu imagery. And it's, yeah, I don't know. It's a very I would say like very open film. like emotionally open film. He's wearing his heart on his sleeve. His heart is completely open. And you can tell watching this entire thing.
So originally, this was going to be on Netflix. I don't know if you guys heard about this, right?
Yep.
Before
Yeah,
Jordan Peele
Jordan Peele.
apparently
Yeah.
helped to get it to the big screen. I'm curious, what was your experience watching it in a theater?
Love it, fantastic. I saw it at a Regal RPX screen. And my theater has a ton of like South Asian immigrants, so it's like a ton of people were excited to go see this rather than like the new like Bollywood film that had just opened too. And it was a crowd that was engaged in the movie and talking. To people who were talking and reacting to things. It was like
Yeah.
a lively crowd, which is perfect for a movie like this. Yeah.
I saw it in a theater with like 8 other people, and I was the most loud reactor to the movie. I wasn't
Wow.
like being an asshole, but I was just like, some of the parts are really incredible, and I was like gasping or laughing or
Go, Monkey Man!
I was saying go Monkey Man for like about 30 of the 90 minutes of the film, and I was getting all these weird looks from people. It was odd. Jeff, what was you saw it at a press
I saw it
screening,
at
right?
a press screening that also happened to be a event screening. So oftentimes they'll do a crossover like that, like a radio station will give away a bunch of seats or something. So it was a packed house, and it was I think it was a pretty crowd pleasing movie. I think there was a significant portion of the people there who was not prepared for how brutal the movie was. I mean, we haven't really talked about it. I mean, teeth ripping out a throat with a knife is intense, but the movie is the violence is intense. It is not
hard R.
Yeah, it's not like fun later John Wick movie violence. It's more it hinges on, it's gory, it is brutal.
It's the Raid. It's what they've been doing in those things for a while. And honestly, watching this, it made me think like, you know what the later John Wick movies are missing is like actual blood, like actual brutality. Before we had magical suits that deflected bullets. I hate that. Still hate it. None of that shit here. And this is, you get to more brutality when you can do that. It just feels more real, more visceral. Yeah.
Fair point. I think it makes the John Wick movies for me more palatable, just because it's like not about gun violence anymore. It's just about this sort of balletic abstraction of violence, and that makes it more palatable for me personally. But this movie is more in your face. Like Dave said, there's very little actual gun play. It's more scrappy, brutal punching, smacking. And the in-ring fighting stuff, which is sort of this mix between.
Yeah, what did you think of that, Jeff? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool. Sharlto Copley is very fun in the movie too. He's having a great time, just chewing scenery. But
I was laughing my ass off when Dev Patel kicks that guy in the face. Yeah, and the match is over, and then Sharlto Copley needs to get out there and vamp. Wow! Yeah, that was surprising.
It was. I kind of couldn't get a bead on like it. It's not quite WWE, right? It's not quite.
It's just like
completely staged.
Yeah.
But like at a certain point, like what's his grift, what's it? He's like, if he goes and loses every time, no one's going to bet on him, right? Like, I don't understand how there's no.
They did not explain the sports betting mechanics of the movie.
Not at all.
In a situation like this, Sharlto Copley would be paying him to lose at a certain point, right? Like, that's how you fix it.
But that's the point, is that
you never see him win before the last.
Yeah.
So my headcanon, Jeff, is that there was a mix of wins and losses for Monkey Man. We never see the wins, but until the end. But that there was a mix of wins and losses.
Generous, like
it is.
It's certainly plausible that he's never won a single fight, and yet somehow he's still getting people to bet on him. And the people, you would think those people show up time after time and like are in on the fact that this monkey dude is pretty bad at what he. I don't know. Anyway, that's minor. But more to your point, I thought that was kind of fun. I felt like when we returned to it toward the end, after he's superheroed up and punched a punching bag 3 times and now knows all the fighting that anyone could ever learn. I like the drumming stuff. The drumming stuff was cool. It reminded me of Karate Kid. It's
fun.
Karate Kid 2, where they have this drum. But when we returned to it, I was like, we didn't need to return here. We didn't need to.
We get it.
We get it. You're awesome. You can do it now. It didn't feel. I didn't
Mhm.
feel like. Oh, I didn't feel like Superman 2 going back to the bar and beating up the guy that had knocked him out of the chair. It didn't feel like, oh yeah, he's finally gonna go there and show them. It just felt like, why are we wasting? You've got revenge to do, buddy. Go do the revenge. Don't waste your time over here. So
Yeah. Well, anyway, Netflix financed Monkey Man for $30 million, and apparently we're going to just kill it. They were going to you weren't even going to be able to see it on Netflix.
Really?
There's a lot of speculation about why that is. I think the politics of the movie
Oh yes,
play
that would
a
be
lot
that
into
would
it.
be it. Like
So,
it doesn't have a release in India yet. So
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they were, according to like the rap, they said it was going to be something that was dropped. They dropped the film without giving a clear reason why. But then Jordan Peele saw it. He obviously has a deal with Universal, and they were able to get the movie out. So
love Jordan Peele. Like that is the pull we need people to be using.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Love it.
Agreed. And at the end of the day, it is extremely impressive that Dev Patel made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.